Now that you've had a taste of Edgar Allan Poe's writing with the bells, we're going to go back to a story from Edgar Allan Poe that's probably a little bit more what you would think of when you think of him. This story is called The Cask of Amontillado. The cask is a bottle that would hold wine. Amontillado is the name of a wine. The setting of this story is in Old Italy, and it's based on catacombs. Catacombs are places where they used to bury people in the old days. So I've attached a slideshow. I want you to watch, just go through those slides. You can see what some of the catacombs look like. Back in those days, if your family was wealthy, you would have an estate. And the estate would have much like a palace or a castle. And it would be sizable. It would have multiple buildings. It would cover some ground. Underneath all of that, they would dig down into the bedrock and tunnel and make catacombs. That's where they buried their loved ones and their family. Family for them could be cousins, cousins of cousins. I mean, it included a lot of people. Well, as you can imagine, over time, you start to build up a lot of bodies. And the way that they would go about it is if somebody died, they would just lay them, they called it a bier, which is just a platform of rock or cement style mason work, that they would just lay the body on that shelf and let it decompose. Over time, then the body would rot away and all that's left is the bones. And then when somebody else dies, they would just move those bones out of the way and put the new person on that shelf. And so some of these catacombs were sizable. Once they moved the bones, they couldn't just get rid of them because they're sacred. It's the bodies of their loved ones. So they began to decorate the rooms in the catacombs with the bones. So you'll see in the slideshow that they're immaculately decorated, incredible masonry work with all of the femurs and skulls. You'll see some repetition when you look at the pictures of the cross, because in Italy and France in those days, the majority of people were Catholic, and so you'll see that as a recurring theme. You'll also see that most of the bones are just individual bones. They'll have one section that's all femurs from a bunch of people, but you will see there are some where an entire skeleton's been maintained, kept together, intact. And my guess is that those are holy men or clergy or saints, maybe, that they keep together out of respect for that person. So you'll see a few of those. So you'll go through the slideshow and just look at those pictures. Ideally, it would creep you out just a little bit because that's the setting of this story. So the idea with this story is that you have the main character who has been offended by his close friend. His close friend doesn't even know that he offended him. But the main character is all about payback. And payback to him in this case is you have to die because you insulted me. This whole story is about the main character murdering his quote-unquote friend for having insulted him. So a couple of things that I want you to think about. Number one, what makes this story creepy? What makes it scary? Think about the setting, the way that the main character acts toward his friend, because he never even shows him that he's upset. As far as his friend knows, they are still very close friends. And then think about the way that he goes about killing his friend, because it's not simple and it's not over quickly. It's rough, right? So read the story. In the beginning, it's a little bit difficult. You'll become familiar with the language as you go along, and it becomes pretty easy to understand. If you have questions, let me know and I'll help you out. Read the story. After you're finished reading the story, this is your assignment. I want you to imagine that you are a family member of the main character, the one who killed his friend. Fortunato is the friend's name. Imagine that you're a family member. Maybe you're his wife. Maybe you're a son or a daughter or a brother, somebody that's a close family member that would know him well enough to recognize when he's acting strangely, right? And I want you to imagine that you are close to this person and he's just killed his best friend. You don't know that he killed him. You only see the difference. So in this case, the main character would probably be pretty happy because he carried off his revenge the way that he wanted to and felt like it went great. So imagine the change in his behaviors from before the murder till after the murder. And then I want you to write a journal entry. So pretend that you are this person, this close family member. You write in a journal on a regular basis, and I want you to make a journal entry describing the way that he has changed. This journal entry, I want you to write by hand, not on the keyboard. I want you to write by hand, and it should be at least a page. So total assignment on this one, it's going to take you maybe 2.5, 3 class periods, 3 at the most. It'll probably take you 2 class periods to read the story, or maybe 1.5, and then get into writing. I want you to do your best work with the writing. Imagine that you really do know this person. Imagine that you really are writing in your journal. Be honest the way that you would really write about it, and show me what you took from the story. Have fun with this. It's a creepy story. It's my favorite thing about Edgar Allan Poe. Enjoy it.